Okay, take two. I don't know what happened before. It only did 4 minutes, and I went on talking for like another 12. So we're going to try this again. It's been about a month since I've done a show. I've not been feeling well most of the month of March. It was also my birthday, and I probably overdid it a little bit, so it took a little bit of time to recover. But welcome to Wellspringer Wednesdays. This is a weekly show where I share insights and resources and strategies so that you can live with more ease despite disease. I am a yoga therapist, certified yoga therapist, and a writer, and I help people who live with chronic illness to redesign their life so that they can feel more beautiful, more peaceful, and have more agency and meaning in their lives. Today's topic is time, illness, and 52 reasons to stay alive. We're going to talk about 4 specific topics within that. So first, about how time gets warped. There we go. How time gets warped and with chronic illness, and just describing what that experience is like. Then I'm going to share with you some poetry from the 1800s to show that we're not alone over time. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about how to manipulate time. And then finally, a very specific way on how to cope with that expanded sense of time when you're locked down and anchored in chronic pain. So I hope you find this helpful. I hope this works this time. I'm going to share a keynote presentation with you that I've worked on this morning to sort of, so you could read the poems rather than me just reading them to you. You could see them on the screen when I get to that. So let me go see if this works. Fingers crossed. And we'll go to keynote. Hang on one second, bear with me. Okay, and I'm going to share my screen. Let me know if you're here, if there's anybody here, because I would love to bring you in at the end. We're going to go to my computer screen. We're going to hide the overlays. Okay, here we go. Time, illness, and 52 reasons to stay alive. So, this was a subject that was of interest to me, like at the beginning of the year. It's always like a time of reckoning, right? When we start a new year and we realize that our lives haven't changed as much as we would like. We haven't achieved the goals we would have liked that we maybe set out for ourselves. We haven't been able to maintain our intention or maintain our purpose in our lives. And birthdays sort of have the same effect. And like I said, I just experienced a birthday. I turned 52 on March 16th. And so, you know, birthdays in the start of the new year can definitely be hard. So that's sort of inspired the subject for this talk. And I love this picture of like a Salvador Dali clock that illustrates really how time can really get warped and manipulated because of our experience of illness. There are some very specific ways as to how that happens. So the first one is dizziness within time. And by that I mean that you can feel when you're in your 20s and 30s and chronically ill, like an 80-year-old woman. And likewise, when you're in your 50s, like I am, or 60s, and you're having a good day, you can feel like you're a teenager, or in your 20s. And so you experience aging a little differently. You don't experience it as a linear devolution. It's like a zigzag all over the place, causing dizziness, and it can feel kind of like a funny mirror at a carnival. So I think that that's not unusual when you're chronically ill, and I think it also can create some confusion, especially as it relates to aging. Secondly, distortions of time. Time can, when you're in a bad flare, feel like it lasts forever. And not only that, it feels like it's going on forever and is never going to change. So not only going to last forever, but like literally can warp your perception of time, that this is never going to let go, because the experience of time sort of expands, the experience of pain rather expands the time. I'm borrowing a phrase from a old poet there, but it really does capture, what it sounds like or feels like. Next one is wrestling with time. And by that I mean we're constantly bargaining with time. We think, okay, I'm going to take a 2-hour nap so I can do 30 minutes of household chores. Or I'm going to only work out 20 minutes because I want to be able to go out this evening. You're constantly trying to make deals and calculations within a period of time because your energy resources are so limited. The problem with that is that everything's distorted. And so what works on one day may not work necessarily on the next day. So it's not like A plus B equals C. Again, that's part of the dizziness too. Things are not linear. You're always trying to beat the clock before your body and your energy collapses. So we're wrestling and wrangling and bargaining with time when you have a chronic illness. Fourth, you can be really bored with time. Being chronically ill is not a vacation. It's not an adventure. We can't always sit around and just watch TV and be entertained. That gets boring too. If our brain fog even allows us to do that kind of thing, or allows us to read, which, more often than not is not the case. We also become bored because we don't have the same kind of social contact that we used to have. We're not making plans to see friends. We're not working in an office. There's nothing to make time fly because our days are so empty or filled with very, very simple tasks like, how am I going to shower today? Am I going to wash my hair? Can I do a load of laundry? How am I going to eat my next meal? It just narrows down to very simple tasks that can take a huge amount of effort and longer time than it should in order to deal with or address. So boredom with time is another issue. And then finally, and I think this one is really important, is that we become fearful of time, especially future time, when we, as part of that distortion, feel like it's always going to be like this. And the future can become very heavy and very dreadful and scary. But it doesn't have to be that way. I want to share with you 2 poems by Emily Dickinson, who, again, wrote in the 1880s. No, she died in 1886. She wrote in 1850s, 60s, and 70s. Lots of poems, but there are 2 specifically that she wrote, both that dealt with both pain and time, and they've been a long-time favorite of mine since I got sick. The first one is number 967, and it goes like this. Pain expands the time. Ages coil within the minute circumference of a single brain. Pain contracts the time. Occupied with shot, gamuts of eternities as they were not. So this captures, I think for me, and I hope for you, often what pain is like, that it is not linear. It can both expand and contract the experience of time. When it's expanded, the area of the brain and sort of the monkey mind can kind of go on and on and on and on. And when it's contracting, you cannot imagine like the future. Gamuts of eternities. Gamuts is like a word, it means scale, like the scale musical notes. It's a way of multiplying the sense of eternity that are all contracted into a single moment that's excruciatingly painful. Sort of like your life flashing before your eyes as as you're dealing with a trauma. Okay, so let's go to the next one. Actually, before we do, let me just see if we're continuing to broadcast. Yes, okay, good. All right, go back to the screen. Oops. Sorry, I skipped ahead. Okay, this is the second Emily Dickinson poem. Bear with me. Having a little technical difficulties here. I also love this. Pain has an element of blank. It cannot recollect when it begun, or if it were a time when it was not. It has no future but itself. Its infinite realms contain its past, enlightens to perceive new periods of pain. So again, it begins and ends with pain. It talks about, so it alludes to the circularness of it and how it can run away from us, our experience and of pain, and how it tends to catastrophize and expect new periods or fresh new periods of pain. And also how we can't remember what it was like when we weren't in this hellhole, which I think is very true. You become sort of inured to the plow. You become used to the new normal. I think this is just beautiful, and it's very comforting to think that Emily Dickinson in Massachusetts was able to capture an experience that I'm having, that you're probably having in 2018. The human experience. This is why poetry and art are, for me, so wonderful, because it shows us our connection to the human experiences of the past. So the final thing I wanted to share with you today is this poem by Matt Haig. And I found this when I was looking through old photos, favorite photos on my phone in connection to my birthday. I was going back and looking at some things that I might like to remember to feel good about that day and past birthdays, and came across this quote, which I had done a screenshot and I didn't know where it was from. So I did some Googling and was able to find it. Thank God we have Google, I guess, so we don't have to go to the library to find out such things. And it was by this young man named Matt Haig. I think he's British. And he wrote a terrific book, actually. I have it right here. Reasons to Stay Alive is the name of the book. And I haven't read all of it. I've read just parts of it, and I love it. I think he's really wise and learned, and he dealt with a severe depression in his mid-20s. And so he talks about how to deal with that, his experience with that, which for me resonated because with physical symptoms, even with physical symptoms, you end up feeling a lot of depression and anxiety as a result of your being shut in and not being able to earn money and being in physical pain. So the poem that stopped me in my tracks as I was scrolling through in my photo collection on my phone was about how to relate to time in different ways. So the first one was how to stop time. And the answer to that is kiss. The next one is how to travel in time. And the answer was to read. I love that one. I like kissing too. The next one is how to escape time. And the answer is music. How to feel time. The answer is to write. And the last one that he wrote was how to release time. Does anyone have a guess as to what that is? It's kind of related to meditation and mindfulness. The answer is to breathe. So I thought this was a lovely structure. And it, of course, begged the question of what other ways we relate to time. One of my friends said for her to enjoy time, she travels. Not all of us can do that, but she travels for work and for pleasure, and it is a wonderful way to enjoy time for sure. I used to enjoy traveling quite a bit. It's one of the things that I mourn not being able to do. And of course, we've already covered, if you want to warp time, you get sick. That's one way to do that. So in his book, he shares with us reasons to stay alive. He even created a hashtag. Let me read you some of the ones that other people wrote into him. Let's see. Fresh air, the compromising love of a good dog, best friends, possibilities. One person wrote, everything passes, joy follows pain, warmth melts the ice, sunsets, that particularly unspecific musical genre that accesses your spine. I love that. Yeah, so this is good. So I came up with 52. Most of mine are related to things that I love. So it's poetry and writers and dancing and plays and art, because those are the things I love. You obviously may love other things like sports or, I don't know. I don't love sports, but there are other reasons to stay alive other than the ones that I have set forth. But I wanted to pull some generic ones to share with you. So out of my 52, these are just 4 or 5 or 7. I don't remember how many I pulled. My first one is the only constant is change, which is as true as long as we're alive. Things can always change, and they do change. Feelings are fleeting. Life will not always feel this bad. One of the advantages of having been sick for 18 years is that I do know that that's true. It's easy when you first get sick, you're like the equivalent of a teenager. And it's easy to think that it doesn't, that it's always going to be that way. But now I know that I have periods of relief and periods of relapse, and that whatever I'm experiencing is not going to last forever. It makes me live very much in the moment, and living moment to moment is not a cliche. It actually is the way we are forced to live. But again, like, it can be hard to remember or know that when you first get sick. So one of mine is also that it gets better, and to know that to be reassured that it can and will get better. Deep belly laughs is another one of mine that is a good reason to stay alive. The smell of freshly baked bread and my mother's pasta sauce. I should have said that too. And also that we can still learn and adapt. Other jokey reasons, not entirely jokey, is I want to see the end of Game of Thrones. I want to see Robin Wright kick butt on House of Cards. And I'd like to see what Robert Mueller comes up with as well. So lots of reasons to stay alive. Before we conclude, I just wanted to leave you with a prayer for courage. This is, if you've seen some of my other shows, you know that Caitlin Matthews is one of my favorite writers. She writes some beautiful poetry. And this is one that I do say a lot when I'm having a hard time, like I have had the last few weeks. And I just wanted to share it with you. I will rise, I will go back to the white and silver shore. I will have courage, as does the sun rising and setting. Soul life streaming down the strand. I will go as the sea in its turning. I will rise, I will go back. I will rise. I love that. With the sun rising and setting and the passing of days and the passing of time, to still have courage and to know that you will again rise. So thank you for joining me today. As a thank you, I wanted to offer you my free guide, Essential Rituals to Start Your Day. It's got some great tips for restarting your day, no matter what the hour. My mornings have been starting out rather late, even though I'm doing a little better than I was the last few weeks. I'm still very stiff and in a lot of pain in the morning, so my days have not been starting really till about 10 or 11. So whatever time of day your day is starting, these tips all work. You can go to this website and sign up there. You'll get this free guide, and then you'll also be signed up for my newsletter, which is going out on Sunday on April 1st, which is also Easter for those of us in the Christian faith. And the feature article is going to be what does the season of spring mean when you're sick all year round? So I think that's particularly relevant when other people are doing their spring cleaning or rebooting their exercise program and you're not able to do those things, and what you can do to sort of feel the spirit of the season despite being sick. So I hope you'll join me. I think that will be the subject for next Wednesday's show as well. But if you sign up and get this free guide, you'll be signed up to get the newsletter as well. It's called Wellspring Dispatches. It's fresh water for dry spells. I'll also have new screensavers for your phone to inspire you and encourage you and support you too, which are free downloads that I do at the beginning of every month. So I hope you'll join me. I hope you're doing well, and share with me online with the hashtag reasons why you stay alive. Either you can put it in the comments below, or if you're on Twitter or Instagram, you can just share with me there. I'd love to share ideas. Maybe some of your reasons to stay alive would resonate with me too. All right. Thank you, and I hope you have a great afternoon.